Hi there, my name's Tyler Royke. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you why I bought this 2010 Nissan 370Z instead of any of the alternatives that I could have gone for the money. So let's take it for a spin and check it out. Before we get started with the video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button so that I may include you on my car journey in the future. Before I was really into cars, like to the point I am today, where I can tell you all the facts, all the brands, anyone who makes a high performance car. And for me especially, I like supercars, I like exotic cars. The Nissan Z isn't that, which is fine, but to me that's somewhere where it all started for me. It didn't necessarily start with the Nissan Z, but before I was really into cars the same way I am today, I always did love the Nissan Z. Before I really knew about sports cars, to me it was just a car that appealed to me. I loved the way it looked for whatever reason. Going back to the 350Z, I loved when they facelifted it in 2007 and made it a little more aggressive looking with the bulgier hood going into 2008, and then with the Nismo. Wow, I thought that was such a beautiful car. And when they came out with the 370Z in 2009, I just loved how they tweaked the design and improved upon what I already thought was an outstanding design. They made it even better in my eyes. They made it even more aggressive looking, adding some new curves and angles, especially with the headlights, the tail lights, and how they integrated it into the shape of the car overall. And then even the options they had available, the paint colors. I always liked the gray metallic colors. And then when they came out with the 40th anniversary package in 2010, limited to 1,000 cars, I loved the spec. I thought they absolutely nailed the spec of that car between the metallic gray quartz exterior paint and then the red interior, and then coupling it with the packages, the sport package and whatnot. I thought they absolutely nailed the design. So I pretty much had decided from a very young age, I was probably 12, 13 years old. I knew I always wanted a Nissan Z. I'm 27 now, and I got this Z 5 months ago, so I haven't had it a long time, but I always knew I wanted one. I knew at some point along the way I would have to own one, and I really wanted one going into my teenage years. 15 and a half years old is when I got my learner's permit and I could drive a car. And then 16, the day I turned 16, my birthday, I went to the DMV and got my driver's license because that's how excited I was to be able to drive. And I had already bought my first car at that point, which was a manual car. I bought a manual 1987 Porsche 924S, which was a fixer-upper. It didn't run at all the time when I bought it, and in fact, to my knowledge, it hadn't been registered in, I think, over 7 or 8 years. So I believe it had been sitting and not running for that long. And I brought it back to life. So it wasn't a very expensive car, but I say that because, I couldn't afford to buy a Nissan Z at that time. A nice 350Z would have ran, into the teens. Something with higher mileage, maybe 11, 12,000. And so it wasn't really something I could have gone at the time, but I would have loved to have one. I just, for me, that versus, $2,000 to get the 924S, plus, as you could probably expect, a lot more to get it back to life and, bring it up. But even still, all in the cost that I spent to own that car over, the period of time that I did, a good 4 years of daily driving it, it was still less than a Z would have cost. So again, it wasn't really something that was in the cards for me at 16 years old, but I did always want one, and it always stayed on my mind even as my interest in cars developed. And I really learned that I really love the high performance cars and started to immerse myself in them, go to different events, be surrounded with people that own them, go to track days, just not participating, but just being there and being in the environment and smelling the race fuel. And as funny as that might sound, if you're a car person, I think you understand. It's just an environment that you love to be in. And but I never ended up getting a Z. It's not that I could never get one. I could have you know, several years later, easily have gotten one. I never really made it a priority because my evolution, you know, my interest in cars was just very broad. I didn't really make it a goal to get a 350, 370, but I always had in the back of my mind, you know, I've got to own one of these because fundamentally that's where it all started. So bottom line is, why did I buy a 370Z instead of any of the alternatives I could have gone? Because you do have a lot of alternatives to consider if you're buying one of these. And I mean, you already know if you're watching this video, but you know, for me, what comes to mind, I'm not saying this is everything, but just for example, you could get a Subaru BRZ, you could get an FRS, you can get a WRX, you can get a Mustang, a Camaro, a Challenger. The list goes on, and depending on what cars you're looking at, you might say, oh, well, with the Mustang, you can get a V8. With the Camaro, you can get a V8. It has more power. It has 2 rear seats. It has more trunk space. It's way more practical. Like, and you know, by all those measures, you could say, wow, it's hard to justify getting a 370Z because what does it really have going for it? Well, yeah, and even for the price, right? Because I mean, if you're getting a 370Z spec'd out, I mean, $40,000, you can get a V8 Camaro, you can get a Camaro SS, a Mustang 5.0, you know, and you might not even spend as much money to get, you know, a solid version of one of those. So it's faster, it's got more, it can do more. But why would you get a 370Z? Well, I just told you the story. For me, it's more of just, it was always a car that appealed to me. It's not because I think it's the best. It's because it's the experience that I wanted. You know, I always loved the aesthetics. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it looks. And I love the idea of having a 2-seater sports car. You know, the fact that it's like so much less practical than a Mustang or a Camaro, and even less common in my opinion, because I see a lot of Mustangs and Camaros. I don't see nearly as many Nissan Zs. So just all those things that, you know, might be a reason that a lot of people wouldn't get one compared to those other cars is actually the, you know, some of the reasons I love it. You know, I kind of love the fact that it's so impractical. I kind of love the fact that it's so sporty. And fact is, I love the experience that you get for it, you know, for what you're getting, for the money you're paying. And, you know, to me, it just goes back to that, you know, that story is part of my car story, because again, before I was into the crazy high performance cars or even really knew I had an interest there, I always knew I liked the Nissan Z. And so this is my way of experiencing that and really bringing that experience to life and living it through this car and sharing it with you all now that I have this channel. And by the way, I would ask one thing of you if you're watching this: hit that subscribe button, because to me that story I just told you is very real, and part of that for me now is sharing that experience with you. So if you're watching this, especially if you've watched this far into the video, I want to stay connected with you. I want to continue sharing these experiences with you, so hit that subscribe button. And I have a question for you. My question of the day, if you are still watching this video, is to those of you who own a Nissan 370Z, why did you buy yours instead of the alternatives? Because I know you've got a story. I know you got something that you love about the car. I want to hear what it is. So leave me a comment below and let me know the answer to that, which is, if you own a 370Z or even a 350Z, let's just include everyone on that. Did you buy, you know, why did you buy your car instead of one of the other cars that you could have gotten? Let me know in the comments. And anyway, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching the video. I truly appreciate you. And until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers.